Full circle, circle, circle.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Full Circle Podcast. My name is La, and I am so excited to be in this space with you all today. This is a huge moment for me, and I'm really, truly so grateful that you're tuning in. I have to take that in for a second. Okay, I'm going to be real. I actually recorded and scrapped this first episode 4 times. I had this whole script planned out, trying to sound polished, prepared, and not fumble over any of my words. But the more I edited, the more I realized it just wasn't me. It didn't feel raw enough. It didn't have the authenticity that I really want this space to reflect. So here I am, recording for the 5th time. And this time, I'm just going to let it flow. That's my intention for this year, to be in flow in all the ways. And that's how I'm showing up in this space with all of you, authentically in flow. With all of that said, this really is a major full circle moment for me. Like, I really started a podcast and I'm releasing my first episode. It's wild. I mean, how many full circle moments do we have in our lives? And when do they usually click for us? I mean, for me, it's always been after a closed door, a major shift or change in my life, an accomplishment, or a big self-realization. And really, for the last 11 years, life has come full circle for me more times than I can count. The growth and the healing has been real. And if you followed my blogs over the years, well, then you already know. And if we're not yet acquainted in that way, then I welcome you to this space. We are going to talk about all the things here. And I'm just so excited. You have no idea. Life has taken so many turns since this vision first came to be. 11 years ago, I had this idea of creating a space for real conversation, literally to talk about all the things. And we know back in 2014, everything on YouTube was a tutorial or some random thing that was going viral or music videos. There wasn't really a space where young people were getting together and talking about real life, like finances or how we grew up or what happens after college, what doesn't happen after college, emotions, like the list can go on. But at the core of that, there wasn't a space where young people were just sharing their experiences. And I really felt that there was value in men and women starting that conversation, relating to one another, or even challenging someone's thought or perspective, or providing a shift in perspective or a different way of thinking about something. And from there, Alpha She was born. And I was so gung-ho for this. And while it didn't come to full fruition, the vision and foundation of Alpha She stayed with me and continued to evolve over the years through so many full circle moments. My creativity and ideas were flowing in my 20s. I had so much passion for wanting to bring people together and build community in this way. And at the same time, I didn't understand or know this at the time, but the universe was like, "Hey, I love all these ideas for you. You're tapping in. It's great. But you still have much to learn, young one." And would throw every obstacle in my way. But one thing about me is that I'm going to figure it out. I've never backed down from something hard or a challenge. I usually learn the lessons the hard way, but I figure it out nonetheless. And on the other side of every challenge that I have faced was that full circle aha moment. And I attribute much of that to this inner belief or knowing from a really young age that I truly am meant to do something bigger than me, meaningful, impactful in this lifetime. It would just take me the next 10 years to really figure that out. And at the very end of 2015, after one of the hardest years mentally and emotionally, I hit my version of rock bottom. And it was then that I saw the only door open for me was the one that required me to surrender and meet vulnerability. Growing up, And all through my 20s, I was the strong, ambitious, independent, assertive woman who looked like she had it all together and was doing all the things. That was the persona that I had to keep up with. And I believed that I was all those things to an extent, but truly, it was masking so much insecurity, so much anger, so much sadness. And before that rock bottom moment, vulnerability was so foreign to me. It wasn't something that was encouraged or praised in my family. Emotions weren't validated or really even talked about. So, from a really young age, I had conditioned myself, subconsciously, of course, to think that having emotions was unsafe, much less trying to express them. And it wasn't until I had nowhere else to go, until it was so dark, that I realized that identity that I had been attaching myself to was not going to get me out of that dark hole. It was when I chose to walk through the only open door available to me that I saw a glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel. A very dim light, but it was there. And that's when I had to kick everything into gear. All antennas were firing at that point. And in January 2016, I was introduced to the power of I am. I walked into the church that I grew up in by myself after not having been there in, I don't know, 6+ years, not really knowing why I was there, what drove me to go there, until after I heard the message. And I never went back again after that. But that message quite literally changed my life and really put me on a new path. A path with still so many obstacles to overcome and many lessons to learn. But this time I was facing them with a new mindset, a new perspective. I started to believe in myself differently and really see myself differently in so many ways. And in that, felt called to share my own story and what I thought at the time was raw and open and vulnerable. And actually, during that time, it was because social media, our generation, the millennials, we have been on the internet for so long. And really, it has shaped these images that we portray to all these other people on these platforms. And we'll get into a lot of that and how I feel about social media now after having been off of it for the last 7 months. But that's for another episode. Let me not get off track here. So that is when the idea behind Alpha She came back to me and manifested into a blog called Generation I Am. And after going through the first quarter of my life, growing and figuring things out, a lot of which was on my own, then going into that really dark place, I thought that maybe sharing my story could help someone else who may be experiencing something similar. The conversation and relatability that I wanted to create with Alpha She evolved into a space of support and openness. And my hope was that I could help someone feel a little less alone in their journey. I essentially wanted to be for someone who I needed when I was in that dark place, but didn't know how to ask or that it was even safe to ask because, hello, Miss Independent, figured out on her own, didn't think she could ask for help, didn't know how to ask for help, thought it was weak to ask for help. I prided myself on being able to do everything on my own, even though that was accompanied with struggle and pain and loneliness and all the things. So here comes the universe again. I love this for you. You're tapping in again, but you need to learn how to show up for yourself before you can truly show up for someone else. And you might be able to guess that vision didn't come to full fruition either. So many ideas, so much excitement and passion. I even got as far as like starting to build a team. But as the universe would have it, I still had many lessons to learn. So many lessons around discipline and self-love and boundaries and letting go. The list goes on. And so would life. For every 5 steps I took forward, I'd knock myself back 6 over and over, progressing in life in some ways, yet still being stuck in a loop of toxic habit patterns and conditioning that needed to be rewired. And this would go on until I would finally make a conscious decision to show up for myself. The universe is funny in that way because she'll continue to put closed doors in our way until we learn the lessons and make that conscious decision to choose differently and be in true alignment with ourselves. But let me tell you one thing. Even with all those closed doors, we are still being supported and guided every day to the open doors by all the signs that are leading us down the path that we're meant to be on. We see the signs, they are there. The signs are there, the synchronicities, the coincidences, all the things, right? They're there. But being aware of and seeing those signs is up to us. And we can only see them when we're choosing differently than we always have. And in January 2018, Generation I Am evolved into I Am by Alana. I'm going to quote myself. I went back and read some of my blogs, and I found this one from January 18th, 2018. And I quote, I made the change for a few different reasons. When I first started Generation I Am, it was an outlet for me to express my thoughts and, in a way, hold myself accountable for my actions. I called it Generation I Am because I felt like my purpose at the time was to help other people. I've definitely learned that you can't truly help people until you've helped and worked on yourself. End quote. Okay, she was getting wiser in 2018. But from there was a new call to adventure, a very long road to self-discovery, which would go on for the next 6 years. And in those 6 years, I would continue to excel in the career that I'm still in today, leave a toxic relationship, start drinking celery juice, aka focusing on my health, meet a new guy, move in with said guy, start therapy, meet so many of my shadows that were disguised as shame, guilt, avoidance, etc., etc., start couples therapy, get engaged, get married, have a baby, more therapy, and evolve again and again and again. Trust, all of the above will be talked about in many episodes to come. But all of that has led me here today. Coming onto this platform and everything leading up to has been a full culmination of the last 11 years. Shoot, maybe even the last 11 lifetimes. Who knows? But in 2024, I met myself again. I was rebirthed in a way. I saw the light so bright. And what's actually interesting about all of that is it scared me because I was faced with a huge challenge. Learning to trust myself after years of self-abandonment, and also coming to terms with the realization that I never actually did trust myself. Listen, we are going to dive deep into this on many future episodes because there's a lot to unpack in 2024. But therein lies my new challenge, my new call to adventure, if you will, a major full circle moment. But how was I going to fully connect to it? Through the process of figuring that out, I started reconnecting with the version of me that I feared would leave me again. And over the course of last year, I would have to get extremely curious and ask myself the really hard questions. Find stillness, get quiet, and listen. Who am I? What do I deserve? What are my boundaries? What are my needs? What are my values? Am I aligned with my values? Am I showing up for myself? How do I show up for myself? What brings me joy? I'm a firm believer that what's for us is already ours, and everything is going to happen exactly how it's supposed to happen, when it's supposed to happen. And that's usually when we have made the decision to look ourselves in the mirrors that the people closest to us hold up for us daily and choose to face the shadows, choose to go to the dark places, choose to be curious, choose to ask ourselves the raw, scary, and emotionally charged questions. Choose to do the work. That is what this is about. That is what this lifetime is about. How do we truly show up as our most authentic selves, stripping ourselves of the ego, the facades, the social media image. How do we get in touch with our deepest desires? How do we manifest the life that we want? How do we release and surrender and truly call in what is already ours? How do we fully connect to our full circle moments? Listen, we are going to answer all the questions and figure out all of the things together because this space is for you. And whether this all resonates or you're just getting started on your own journey or getting curious, you're here for a reason. And I promise you, everything will come full circle. I'm so excited to embark on this new journey with you all. Here's to building this full circle community in 2025 and beyond. And if you're ready for more, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for all the real, raw, transparent, emotional, and funny episodes to come because yes, we will laugh a lot and we'll cry and all the things. But guess what? Your emotions are safe here. So I will link all the ways you can connect with me down in the show notes, including my original blog. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in to this first episode and for joining me on this new call to adventure. I'm so excited for all the things and I can't wait to chat with you all again soon. Bye, y'all.
Full circle.